Now, I want to pivot to a program that I've seen you heavily criticize a lot on X, Oregon. Obviously, we know that Phil Knight has promised Dan Lanning unlimited NIL money, and I thought he was joking when he said that. Obviously, it's not, because I feel a huge reason why these spring games getting canceled is because Oregon's buying up everybody. Now, of course, everybody's tampering, but it seems like when you think of tampering, the face of it is Oregon. Then they still like USC's best offensive lineman. I don't blame them. You feel me? You got the money, go buy them. But it's just you say that Oregon is trying to buy a national championship. And by doing that, they're not building a culture. And to win a natty, it's not all about having the best team all the time necessarily. It's also about
Facts.
having that culture. Like Michigan, we saw them have a bunch of guys that were like 3-4 year guys in the program. Same thing with Ohio State. Yeah, they got Quinshawn Judkins and Caleb Downs, but they also had guys like Jack Sawyer who put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for that program. So it's like, what is the biggest flaw that you have noticed with Oregon's approach? And do you feel like this is ultimately going to be another reason why we don't see them win a national championship with another good coach?
No, that's facts, bro. Like, and I think we really saw it when Ohio State played Oregon. It was at Oregon, so you had, and it was only a 1-point game. You got to think about it from that perspective, and the crowd was involved, so it was an advantage Oregon. Now, Oregon had the best talent, some of the best talent in the country. Between those two rosters, I think it was Kirk Herbstreit, one of those guys. They said this is what $20 million or $30 million looks like. Those two rosters going at it. But you really saw the separation when they played in the Rose Bowl, when it was a neutral field, when both of those teams, when it was an advantage Oregon. You really saw, from a coaching standpoint, you saw adjustments made. You saw non-adjustments made from a coach like Dan Lanning and Chip Kelly, whereas you saw a coach, did I say Dan Lanning? Ohio State coach
Ryan Day.
Ryan Day. You saw them make incredible adjustments, and you just didn't see the adjustments. So I say to myself, like, when you got the roster like that, how do you not? And they lost against, I think it was Wisconsin, who we blew out this year. You just saw some flaws with the roster that's heavily transfer portal. And to your other point, I think you got to have the chemistry. It's one thing to have the talent, but if you don't have the chemistry together, and if you're not developing on some level with the high school players, I think it's going to eventually show. And I think that's what we see. They got a bunch of high school players that are phenomenal athletes, like Roger Pleasant, like Peyton Woodyard, like Dakota Fields, but who are all from California, Southern California area. But we have yet to see those guys hit the field. Why? Because we continue to see transfer portal players continue to come in. And I think not only do they try to stockpile on talent from a high school level, I think they're stockpiling talent from the transfer portal. And only one individual gets to play. You're only going to have 11 guys on the field. So it could be ego issues. It could be chemistry issues. But I just saw where it wasn't coming together. And I just think, look, if you're a player, you rather be developed with chemistry than be on a team and just get a bag. Because at the end of the day, the long game, to me, I always tell these recruits, the long game got to be the NFL. You can get the short game money, but a couple $100,000, but you get the long game, get some meals. So that's kind of where I stood with it.
And my biggest issue with Oregon is that I don't feel like they're the greatest when it comes to player development. With what you said, like, the last couple of recruiting classes that Oregon has brought in have been some of the greatest of all time. Like, I think I read something earlier that's like they got 4 or 5 of the highest rated cornerbacks in program history.
Yeah.
It just seems like they're looking for guys that can come play now. And if you can't play, we're just going to replace you with more guys that we're going to.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. Yep. That's fact. Big facts.